In this video lesson I'm going to explain how an HTML page called Olympics.html works. And here we will find a JavaScript class, and then we are going to use an array of JavaScript objects, and then we are using JavaScript to create button elements for the page. So my name is Kari Laitinen, and let's go to naturalprogramming.com. So you can find this page Olympics.html if you first go to naturalprogramming.com and then you click this web icon. So then you enter this page, and there you will find this link, simple HTML pages, and then you will find this list of files, and there is the Olympics.html. So you can download it for yourself with the right mouse button, and when you download it, you must also download in addition to the HTML file, you have to download one image file, and it is located in this folder, and it is called Olympic rings without rims.png. So I have already downloaded this file, so I have it here. There is the Olympics.html, and then I have the same images folder there, and there I have this PNG file. So you have to do this these same downloadings if you want to work locally with this program. So I have already downloaded it, and I have it open here, and well, the page looks like this. So there is one image there, and there are then two lines of text, and then there are these buttons, and if you press a button, for instance, if you press this button, then it says that Olympic Games 1992, and then it says the text Barcelona, Spain. So it's actually quite simple program, so that you can just find the place where certain Olympic Games were held. So if I click this, then I get the Athens, Greece, and 2004. So let's take a look at this source code of this page then. And the source code is here in editor, and well, at the beginning of the page there are these usual things, titles and so on, and then I have style definitions. There is one centered class definition, then there is this area for buttons, which is for an ID, and then there are some definitions for button. And then I have here the JavaScript part, but we will return to this later. So here's the JavaScript part, and here we have then the actual HTML body of the page. So at the beginning of the page there is this class centered, and there is one image inside a paragraph element, and then there is two h1 header elements there, and these have these IDs, Olympic Games text and city and country text. And then I have this div here which has an ID area for buttons, and inside this div I have some JavaScript there. So actually I made this one drawing about this, or actually I printed the page on paper, and you can see here that here is the button area, like this, and then I have this other area that has class centered, and inside the centered div I have then the one image there, and then I have these two h1 elements, and the other element is referred to with the Olympic Games text, and the other element is referred to with the city and country text. So these are the original, when the page is loaded, the texts are like this, but then when some button is pressed, then these texts will be changed with the JavaScript code. And inside this button area, all these buttons, they are generated now with this JavaScript code that is inside the div. Well, I have it's actually area for buttons here. I made a mistake here. Like this. Sorry about that. I have to check also the CSS part that is it correct? Yes, there's also the area for buttons. So this area for buttons, so I have only the script there, and this script is executed then when this page loads. It executes, the browser executes this script where it is located. But we can check, we can then study this a little bit later. We first have to study the other JavaScript part of this page. But it is very important to understand that these buttons, they are all created with JavaScript. So let's take a look at this JavaScript at the beginning of this page, and here we have this JavaScript class named Olympics. So in the new version of JavaScript, it is really possible to specify classes like in other programming languages, and the class definition begins, or class declaration begins with a keyword class, and then you give a name for the class, and inside these braces you specify the constructor of the class and the methods of the class. So the constructor is here, and it is made with a keyword constructor like this. And for this constructor you give 3 parameters: the Olympic year, Olympic city, and Olympic country. And then this constructor creates these data fields or attributes or data members, whatever you call them. So they are created with this word, so that you write this and Olympic year and this and Olympic city and this and Olympic country. So then these fields, data fields, are then created inside the Olympics object. And then they are given these values that are given as values for this, as parameters for this constructor. So in JavaScript you don't write, this is the way to specify the data fields or data members, and well, you could do this also in other methods than just in the constructor, but usual way is that you create the data fields in the constructor. Well, then we have these, you can call them methods or member functions, or in this case they can be called getters. So we specify 3 functions here, or 3 methods with which you can read the data fields from Olympics object. And you always use here, you have to use this word this here to refer to the data fields, and then you give the name of the data field. And note also that you don't need anything, because normally when we write functions, we use the function word there, but you don't need this word here. You just write the name here, but otherwise it is a function, so there is a pair of parentheses here. So the Olympics objects are such that there are these 3 data fields, and there are these 3 methods with which you can read the values of these data fields, and you can then initialize the object with these values that are given as a parameter to the constructor. And the constructor is also a keyword here. And then when we want to use, or when we want to create these objects or Olympics objects, we can do it like this, that we use the new operator, and then we use the class name, and then we give the parameters for the constructor. So in this case, this would be passed as a parameter for this, and this would be passed as a parameter for this, and this would be passed a parameter for this. And what we do here, we create an array or initialized array, and we use the name Olympics list here, and then all these Olympics objects, then they will be then the elements of this list. And note here that we also always put here a comma, so it is a list of initial values when we create the array. And then there is one semicolon at the end, and no comma here. So that way we create a list of Olympics object, and I have actually made a drawing about this, so we can study it a little bit more. Let's take this away, and I have this other drawing here. So you can think that when you see this kind of an array, you can think that, well, that inside the computer memory it looks like this. So we have, this is one Olympics object, and this is another Olympics object, and this is one more Olympics object, and the use of memory would look like this, and then this name Olympics list would refer to the entire array. Well, this is just the purpose of this picture is just to show you how you can think about how the memory works, because actually I don't even know exactly how this JavaScript uses memory. So it can be much more complicated than this. So that, for instance, that these the actual array would be maybe just references or addresses of these objects in the memory, and even these strings they can be stored as as addresses there. But it doesn't harm anything if you at the beginning think about this array like this, and then it is normal array, so you can index it, for instance, and so that So that all these objects they have indexes. So the index of the first object has value 0. The index of second object has value 1. 2 would be the index of the third object, and 3 would be the index of the fourth object. So this way you can handle this kind of an array, and you could then for instance, if you write something like Olympics list, if you write like this, Olympics list, and then you put an index value into these brackets, and for instance, if you write there 2, then you would refer to this object here. So this would refer to this object like this. And then there were these methods like there are these methods like get city or get country. For instance, get city. So if you would use the method get city, then it would return the St. Louis text to you. So when you write this, you refer to the entire object, and then you can call a method for the object. Okay, so let's continue with this study. So I have here, so these are public variables now. I have here variable last click button that is null at the beginning. It's null at the beginning, and then I have a function Olympic year selected. And well, that's all about this JavaScript. So now we can take a look at the JavaScript that is inside the div element where the buttons are created. So in this is a JavaScript inside the div element, and it is executed where it is located. And here is a for loop, and in this for loop we refer to this Olympics list, and this means that this Olympics index gets all the values starting from 0 until the last possible value for the array. So this Olympics index in turn refers to all the Olympics objects inside the array. And then we, inside the loop, we just treat the Olympic year with the getYear method. So this refers to one Olympics object, and then we refer with the dot operator, we call a method, and we get the year. And then we use a standard HTML method called document.write. And this method works so that it writes this thing that is inside as given as a parameter. It writes it so that as if it would be written inside this element of the page. So this just creates a button. It creates a button, and here is the closing tag for the button element, and the button text is then this Olympic year. So it is automatically converted to a string, So that way we get to the Olympic years to the, so that way we get the Olympic years to the buttons. So each button contains a year. And I have here a variable that counts at how many buttons there are. Oh, and this one thing is also that we also specify this onClick method. So this is the method that is earlier in this page, and this method will be then called when the button is pressed. And with this word this here we can also pass the text or the button reference to the button object to the method. And this is also important to know that we have to use this backslash and the double quotation mark here, and that is the reason because we want to include this to the string. So this is a normal JavaScript string that starts from here and ends here, but if we want to include a double quotation mark into the string, we need to have a backslash before it in the text. So here with this variable I can calculate that how many buttons there are on each line, and if there are more than 6 buttons, then I create a new line. And again I use this document write method and I insert this page break tag there. And usually it's good to put a space character after the page or the line break. So this is line. I think this is called a line break tag. And then I make this variable 0 again. So that way I will have always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons on each line. And it has been specified in the CSS part of this page that all these things are centered on the page. So this part of this JavaScript is executed exactly once when this page is loaded, and it creates the buttons. And then there is this other method that reacts to the pressings of the buttons. And this then receives as a reference to the button as a parameter. So this is called when the button is pressed, and this gets the reference to the button, and with this way we can use this property text content. We can get the text that is on the button, and we convert it to a number because text content is a string, so we have to convert it to a number, and then we get to know what year was selected. And then in this program we simply go through the entire array of Olympics objects until we find the Olympics that is connected to the button. So I specify a variable selected Olympics, and that's null at the beginning, and the index is 0, and then I go in the while loop until as long as this selected Olympics is null. And I always read, again I refer to one Olympics object and I read its year, and then I compare it to the selected year, and if they are the same, then I have found the selected Olympics, and I make this refer to this Olympics object in the array. So after this statement has been executed, this refers to one Olympics object in the array, and so on. That makes the while loop terminate. And then then I use this document get element by ID. I refer to Olympic Games text and I refer to the city and country text. So these were the names or the IDs for these two lines. These are the IDs for these two lines, and then I change the texts by referring to this inner HTML like this. And I again read data from the selected Olympics object. So I use the get year and get city and get country methods here. And so that way these texts are then replaced with the texts that are taken from the right Olympics object. And then there is one thing to do, because in the original, so in this you can see that always when I select some Olympics, that button that is selected has a greenish color. So I have to always change the color of the button when a selection is made. So this is done so that I have this variable last clicked button, so it is null at the beginning, but if it's not null, then if it is not null, it means that some button has been clicked earlier, and this is the original color of this is the usual color of the buttons, and so I have to here I change the color of the previously clicked button to normal, and then I make this variable refer to the last clicked button, and then I change that color to light green. So I have to always, if I press, for instance, this 84 button here, I have to first change the color of the earlier button to normal, and then change the color of this button to this greenish color. So that is the way this page works. So there are JavaScript parts and there is JavaScript in two places of this page, and then there are these usual CSS parts and the HTML parts. And it is when you have a page like this, it's quite easy to modify it. If I want to add some new Olympics there, so I can just write like this, and I put it Rio de Janeiro and Brazil, like this, no comma there. So I will save it, and I reload the page, and you can see that now there's new button and new data for the Olympics of Brazil. So that makes for that reason using object-oriented programming is good thing, because when you need to modify a page or modify the program, then it is usually quite easy to do. And of course there are many ways to write these JavaScript things into HTML pages, and if you go to this list, you will see that there is also, I have Olympics here, there's this Olympics.html, and there is Olympics alternative.html there. So this alternative version, it works the same as this Olympics.html, but there the buttons are created in a little bit different way. But if you are going to do the exercises that are related to this program or this page, then you have to use this Olympics.html. So I think this is it for today. So thank you for your attention, and bye.